for weeks, and slowly you understand why. You're being prepared, because somewhere in Rome, workers are already laying stones for the route you'll walk in chains. Artists are painting your defeat on canvas. Crowds are gathering, thousands of them, not for justice, for spectacle. And for conquered queens, spectacle could become something worse than any battlefield death. Because Rome had learned something most empires never understood. Killing a ruler ends the story. Humiliating one, rewriting one, absorbing their children into your system, that creates a different kind of ending. Permanent. And it started long before the triumph itself. Boudica learned that in AD 60. After her husband Prasutagus died, his will was clear. The kingdom would pass peacefully to his daughters under Roman oversight. Rome ignored it completely. Officials arrived like scavengers, land seizures, property confiscations, debt collection enforced at spear point. Then Rome escalated. According to Tacitus, Boudica was publicly flogged. Her daughters were assaulted by Roman soldiers. Not hidden, not accidental, public. And that detail changes everything, because there wasn't a rebellion yet. This happened before the uprising. The violence wasn't punishment, it was the message itself. A queen reduced to a slave in front of her own people. Royal blood publicly degraded, an entire tribe shown exactly what Rome believed they were worth. For a moment, it worked. Then something shifted, because instead of submission, Rome created fury. Boudica's revenge came fast. Roman settlements burned. Camulodunum first. Veterans, retired soldiers, given land in conquered Britain, trapped inside their own colony. They barricaded themselves in the Temple of Claudius. It didn't matter. The entire structure collapsed into fire. Then Londinium, a trading settlement. Wooden buildings packed close, narrow streets. Roman civilians, trying to flee, found the roads already blocked. Thousands died in a single day. Then Verulamium, another settlement erased. For weeks, Roman Britain stopped feeling permanent. And that terrified Rome more than the deaths themselves, because the empire's entire structure depended on one unspoken assumption. Rome always wins eventually. Boudica was proving that assumption could break. But the ending came quickly. A narrow field, Roman discipline against a massive tribal force. The Iceni and their allies outnumbered the Romans heavily. It didn't matter. Roman javelins first, then shield walls pressing forward, then slaughter. Thousands died trying to flee, families crushed under their own supply wagons, bodies piled so densely that ancient historians later struggled describing the scale. And somewhere in that chaos, Boudica understood, not death, capture, because Rome didn't execute defeated rulers immediately. It displayed them first. And Boudica chose poison before Rome could turn her into entertainment. But what exactly was she escaping? That answer was already walking through Rome, because Boudica wasn't the ruler Rome wanted most, not even close. 2 centuries later, another woman challenged the empire, not from Britain, from the east. And unlike Boudica, Rome captured her alive. Her name was Zenobia, Queen of Palmyra, and for a brief period, she controlled something Rome couldn't tolerate: Roman territory under someone else's authority. Syria, Egypt, Asia Minor, entire provinces slipping away. She was educated, multilingual, politically ruthless. Roman writers later tried reducing her to vanity and ambition. That's what usually happens when empires survive long enough to write their own history. But Emperor Aurelian understood the real threat immediately. Zenobia was proving Rome could fracture. So Rome responded with speed. Cities fell, allies vanished, supply lines collapsed, and finally, Zenobia fled east toward the Euphrates River. She was trying to reach Persian territory. She never made it. Roman cavalry intercepted her before she crossed. And suddenly, the woman who ruled an empire became property of the Roman state. That transformation mattered more than the military victory itself, because now Rome could perform the ritual, the triumph. Most people imagine a celebration, It wasn't. It was psychological warfare performed at city scale. The parade route stretched through Rome itself. Crowds packed the streets for hours, not to celebrate victory, to watch defeated rulers humiliated publicly. And Zenobia became the centerpiece. According to Roman accounts, she was forced to walk wearing chains of gold, not iron, gold, so heavy that attendants had to help her remain standing. Think carefully about that choice. Rome could have used iron chains. Instead, they used wealth itself as humiliation. Her jewelry, her status, her royalty, all transformed into weight. And while she struggled through the streets, Rome celebrated around her. Music, soldiers marching, wagons loaded with treasure from Palmyra, crowds screaming, an empire turning another empire into theatre. But the truly disturbing part came afterward, because some conquered rulers died after their triumphs, strangled in the Tullianum prison. Standard procedure. Zenobia didn't die. Rome kept her alive, and that may have been worse. According to later Roman sources, Zenobia was given a villa near Tibur, a comfortable life, servants, Roman society. At first that sounds merciful, until you realize what Rome actually accomplished. Zenobia stopped being a rival ruler, stopped being a symbol, stopped being dangerous. Her children married into Roman aristocracy, her bloodline absorbed, her empire dismantled, her identity diluted slowly inside the system that conquered her. Rome didn't just defeat enemies militarily, it neutralized memory, and the pattern was already centuries old. Because before Zenobia, before Boudica, there was another queen who challenged Rome, Tutor of Illyria. Pirate queen. In the 3rd century BC, her fleets controlled the Adriatic Sea. Roman merchants couldn't move without paying tribute. Rome sent ambassadors demanding she stop. According to Polybius, she told them, "It is not the custom of royalty to prevent subjects from benefiting from the sea." The ambassadors returned to Rome. One of them died shortly after, possibly assassinated. Rome declared war immediately, and Tutor's kingdom collapsed faster than anyone expected. Roman legions moved through Illyria like a flood. Cities surrendered, allies switched sides, and Tutor vanished. Some sources say she fled inland, others claim she surrendered and lived out her life in obscurity. But the historical record goes silent. No triumph, no execution, no death recorded, just erasure. And that's almost more disturbing, because it suggests Rome didn't always need spectacle to destroy a queen. Sometimes disappearance was enough, but other times Rome wanted the world to watch. And then came Cleopatra, the queen Rome wanted more than any other, because defeating Cleopatra meant defeating Egypt itself, the wealthiest kingdom left standing outside Roman control. After Actium, Cleopatra watched Rome closing around Alexandria, piece by piece. Mark Antony collapsed first, suicide after hearing false reports of Cleopatra's death. Then came negotiations, messages from Octavian, promises, claims of mercy. But Cleopatra had spent years navigating Roman politics. She understood performance, and she understood what Roman mercy usually meant: a triumph, chains, crowds, humiliation stretched into spectacle. Some Roman sources even suggest Octavian's planners had already designed how she would appear in the procession. Not simply defeated, displayed, and suddenly Cleopatra's suicide changes completely. Not romance, not despair, escape. Because death was the one thing that denied Rome the final performance. You cannot publicly humiliate someone who refuses to stand on your stage. But Rome adapted. When Octavian finally celebrated his triumph over Egypt, Cleopatra still appeared, not alive, as an effigy, a statue, a recreation, a dead queen brought back for spectacle. The crowd got their show anyway, but there's a detail in the historical accounts that's easy to miss, and it may be the cruelest part of the entire story, because Cleopatra escaped the parade. Her children didn't. They walked behind the effigy of their mother, Cleopatra Selene, Alexander Helios, Ptolemy Philadelphus, children of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, paraded through Rome as proof of Egypt's conquest, and their fates reveal what Rome actually did to royal bloodlines. Caesarion, Cleopatra's son, with Julius Caesar, was executed almost immediately. Too dangerous to live, too much symbolic power, but the younger children, Rome kept them alive, raised them Roman. Cleopatra Selene was eventually married off to Juba II, the Roman-controlled king of Mauritania, a foreign queen's daughter given to a foreign king under Roman authority. Her brothers disappeared from the historical record shortly after the triumph. No executions recorded, just silence. Rome didn't kill Cleopatra's bloodline. It absorbed it, reframed it, turned royal children into Roman assets. Even in death, Cleopatra couldn't escape the empire's reach. And once you notice that pattern, you start seeing what Rome was really doing. This was never just punishment. It was a system, a repeating structure that Rome refined over centuries. Defeat the queen, capture if possible. If she dies, recreate her anyway. Display her, humiliate her publicly, then either execute her after the spectacle ends, or absorb her into Roman society where she becomes harmless. Take her children, raise them Roman, marry them into Roman families, erase the bloodline by diluting it, and the entire empire watches. That's the part that made it so effective. The triumph wasn't just for the defeated queen, it was for every other kingdom watching. A message sent across the Mediterranean. This is what happens when you challenge Rome, not just defeat, erasure. And Zenobia wasn't the only one. There were others. Rulers whose names barely survived in the historical record. Cartimandua of the Brigantes, a British queen who allied with Rome, then lost power anyway when her own people turned against her. Rome evacuated her, gave her protection. She lived out her life somewhere in Roman territory. Comfortable, forgotten, Berenice of Judea, a Jewish princess who became the lover of the future Emperor Titus. Roman society rejected the relationship. She was sent away. No triumph, no execution, just removal. Rome had different methods depending on the threat level, but the goal was always the same: remove the queen from power, remove her from memory, remove her children from their heritage, and make sure the world watched the process. Because some queens didn't get villas. Some ended in the Tullianum, the state prison beneath the Roman Forum, a stone chamber, dark, no windows, accessible only through a hole in the ceiling. This is where some triumph captives ended, after the parade, after the crowds, after Rome had extracted every piece of spectacle from their humiliation. They were lowered into the Tullianum and strangled. Vercingetorix, the Gallic king who resisted Julius Caesar, died there. Jugurtha, the Numidian king who fought Rome for years, starved there. The prison still exists today. You can visit it, stand in the same chamber where defeated rulers spent their final hours, and realize this was the fate Boudica avoided. This was the fate Cleopatra escaped. This was the fate Zenobia somehow survived. But for others, this stone room was the last thing they ever saw. And that makes Zenobia's survival even stranger. Why did Rome let her live? One theory, Emperor Aurelian needed to prove his victory was legitimate. Keeping Zenobia alive, comfortable, visible, neutralized, demonstrated Roman mercy. It made the conquest look civilized. Another theory, Zenobia's children were more valuable alive. Married into Roman society, they became tools, political assets, proof that even the East could be integrated into Roman order. But there's a third possibility, the most disturbing one. Rome let Zenobia live because her suffering didn't end with the triumph. Every day she spent in that villa, every interaction with Roman society, every moment watching her children grow up Roman was a continuation of the humiliation. Not violent, not dramatic, just slow, permanent. A conquered queen stripped of everything that made her powerful. Alive, but erased. And then something unexpected happened. Centuries later, Zenobia became legendary. Not forgotten, remembered. Medieval chroniclers retold her story. Renaissance writers celebrated her defiance. She became a symbol of resistance against empire. The same thing happened with Boudica, forgotten for over 1,000 years, then rediscovered during the British Empire, turned into a national symbol. Statues erected, poems written, a queen who fought Rome, celebrated by a later empire that saw itself as Rome's successor. The irony is almost unbearable. And Cleopatra, Rome tried to reduce her to Octavian's propaganda, a seductress, a manipulator, a failure. But 2,000 years later, her name is still known worldwide, while most of the Romans who humiliated her are forgotten. Which raises an uncomfortable question. Did Rome actually win because Rome controlled the triumphs, controlled the spectacle, controlled the executions, controlled the historical records written immediately afterward? But it couldn't control what happened centuries later. It couldn't control which stories survived, which names people still remembered, which queens became symbols long after the empire collapsed. And that's where the system failed. Rome wanted erasure. Instead, it created martyrs, not intentionally, but the very act of performing such extreme humiliation made these women unforgettable. The triumphs were supposed to prove Roman dominance. Instead, they immortalized the people they were meant to destroy. And once you see Rome's system, you start noticing it everywhere. The pattern repeats across continents, across centuries. Different empires discovering the same method independently. Imperial China perfected public executions of rebel leaders in crowded marketplaces. Not just death, spectacle. The condemned paraded through streets for days, their crimes announced repeatedly. Then came lynching for the worst offenders, the death of 1,000 cuts, designed to last hours. The crowd needed to see what happened when someone questioned imperial authority. Afterward, heads mounted on city gates, sometimes for months. Bodies denied proper burial, names struck from family records. Not just execution, systematic erasure. The Aztec Empire developed something even more elaborate. Captured rival rulers were paraded through Tenochtitlan. Crowds lining the causeways, drums beating. Then came weeks of ceremonial captivity, fed, prepared, because the sacrifice had to happen during specific festivals. Atop the Great Temple, visible across the entire city, thousands watching from below, the victim's heart offered to the gods. The body rolled down the temple steps, and the message spread to every city-state. This is what happens when you resist. Jump forward to the British Empire. When they captured Cetshwayo, the Zulu king, who had defeated them at Isandlwana, they didn't execute him. They shipped him to London, paraded him through the city, crowds gathering to see the savage king, displayed at social events, photographed extensively, the humiliation dressed as hospitality. Then, after serving his purpose as propaganda, he was allowed to return. But by then his kingdom had been dismantled, his power neutralized. The display accomplished what execution never could. Colonial powers displayed conquered leaders at exhibitions, world's fairs. The 1904 Louisiana Purchase Exposition displayed Geronimo as a living exhibit, not imprisoned in isolation, displayed. Visitors paid to see him, the warrior who had resisted for decades reduced to tourist attraction. His resistance transformed into entertainment for the civilization that destroyed his people. Even the Mongols, who typically killed everyone, occasionally kept important rulers alive, forced them to participate in Mongol campaigns, made them watch as Mongol armies conquered their former allies, used them as propaganda, their continued existence more valuable than their death. The method changes slightly, the specific rituals vary. Chinese executions looked different from Aztec sacrifices. British displays operated differently from Roman triumphs, but the core remains identical. Capture, display, humiliate, neutralize, and make absolutely certain everyone watches. It's not cultural coincidence. It's calculated political strategy that empires rediscover independently. because it accomplishes something execution alone cannot. Killing a ruler creates a martyr, but public humiliation transforms them into a cautionary tale, a warning to anyone considering resistance. And it works, not forever, but long enough. So what were these queens really afraid of? Not death. Death was common in the ancient world. Battle deaths, executions,